Meeting to order. It's December 9th, 2021. If you would all stand please with me, and Al, would you lead us please in the pledge?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. You may be seated. This evening, there are a couple of things that we will be doing before we move to our scheduled agenda. Our first is a proclamation that we would like to make. It is the 10th year anniversary of Barry's Old School Irish. It sits on the corner of Main Street, West Main, and South Avenue. And 10 years seems to have gone by very quickly. But I would like to make a presentation of this proclamation. On this side, I guess. It is my honor and privilege, actually, to be able to make this proclamation. I have had opportunity to be in your establishment and enjoy it very much, the authenticity of it, and just the quality of food as well. And I don't really imbibe in what you have to offer there totally, but I know that it's quite known for the spectrum of Irish pub fare. So I'd like to read this proclamation from the Village of Webster. Whereas for 10 years, Danny and Jessica Barry, the owners of Barry's Old School Irish, have occupied 2 West Main Street in the heart of the village, and whereas Barry's was recently named by the Irish Post as one of the top 20 best Irish pubs in the country, and has received many other accolades as well. It is most likely due to their hometown feel, their cozy, inviting atmosphere, with quality homemade food, bakery items in a wide variety of spirits and pints. And whereas patrons from all around come to visit Barry's and attend their annual Barry's Old School Irish Festival. And whereas Barry's has been a place where people gather to find comfort, to celebrate, have conversation, laugh, relax, listen to live music, tip a pint or two, and make friends. It's a place where Danny, Jessica, and other members of the Barry clan have made you feel right at home, just as if you were part of the family. And whereas the Webster community is lucky that Barry's has made the Village of Webster their home. Therefore, let it be known that we, Mayor Darrell Byards, and the Village Board of Trustees, on behalf of the Village of Webster, do hereby recognize Jessica and Danny Barry on the momentous occasion marking their 10th year anniversary as being a permanent fixture in the heart of the Village of Webster. This proclamation dated this 9th day of December 2021. I want to congratulate you for 10 years, and we look forward to many, many more.
Thank you so much.
You did it.
You're very welcome.
You guys say thank you?
You say thank you?
Thank you so much. That's so sweet, you guys.
Yes,
We have
thank you
one more
guys.
thing
Nope.
that we have an employee,
Okay.
right, but he wants to remain anonymous.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna let that happen, by the way.
Yeah.
Rhymes with ache and ends with wingling.
Yeah.
There was a young couple named Barry, a fault one could find with them nary. They opened a pub, which became quite the hub and made the community merry. There was a pub called Barry's. One could visit inside or out, where it's airy. The atmosphere there was so great, many would say best in the state, but to exclaim best in the world would not be contrary.
Aww, How long have you been holding that one under your head? That's
Thank you
awesome.
so much.
Thank you
Thank you,
guys
guys.
very much.
Do you mind if we get a picture?
No, it was not that, oh, that's awesome. Aww, thank
Oh,
you
that's
guys
so
so
sweet, guys.
very
Thank
much.
you.
This is amazing. We really appreciate
Well, thank you
it.
for being part of our community
Oh, we love it.
and supportive of the community.
Thank you guys so
Oh,
much.
thank
Very
you,
sweet of you.
guys.
Thank you, guys.
Here, I'll hold this up in front.
Jody's got a green sweater on just for you.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Hold that with me.
Oh, thanks.
Here, look at that.
Okay, ready?
Here we go.
1, 2, 3. We get a little closer. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
Here,
Appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. I know, right?
Oh, good, all right, fair enough.
Oh, we love it.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you get the.
Thank you, so sweet, you guys, thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
When we opened, none of these guys were here. I'm just looking at you, I'm like, holy, this is our timeline right here.
A year younger than the I was like, I know, things are crazy.
Well, thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Great time here.
The village, your home.
Thank you so much.
Yes, believe it or not. I know, I remember like with my son bringing me in when we
Thanks so
had
much. Hey, likewise. Thank you.
Yeah, we have to go there.
So are the,
I know, they're gonna be basketball players,
Well,
like
they'll
that
be
much.
working there pretty soon.
Yeah, exactly. You're gonna be a football player, yes. Thank you guys so much.
Come on, honey.
Careful.
Thanks again, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, school tomorrow.
Okay, next on our agenda, we have a public comment portion of the meeting. And if anyone would like to address the board, you may approach the podium, state your name, and we would like to hear what you have to say.
Richard Walter, 20 Elm Street. I'd just like to say that on the matter of the cannabis sales, I would very much like you to opt out at this time. I believe there is not currently, and by all reports, not currently enough information out there. I've heard that some of the literature from the state is well over 100 pages long, which would mean that I doubt if anybody's had a chance to read all that and study this matter. And if you opt in now, you're stuck with it forever, whatever it is. But you now have the option to opt out, and at this time, I think you should opt out and for further consideration in the future, rather than be stuck with something that nobody is quite sure of what is going to be the rules and regulations put down by the state. And as our attorney is not here tonight to comment on this, I think it was a very good idea to opt out at this time. You can always opt in later. Thank you.
My name is Bruce Winters. I live on Dunning Avenue here in the village. Board members, hopefully most of you got a copy of this.
Can you please state your address, please?
20 Dunning.
Thank you.
As a retired pharmacist who is knowledgeable about pharmacology is the action of drugs once they get in the body, I see mostly disadvantages to marijuana. There are a number of purported medical uses for the drug, but the benefits are mostly anecdotal, not verified in clinical studies. I asked an out-of-area friend who's a user what it's like at places that sell it legally. He said it's similar to what you see at an OTB facility, a bit seedy in appearance. We witnessed that a few years ago here in the village when we had the OTB. My friend still buys off market because the taxes make the legal source too expensive for him. I see no socially redeeming value to marijuana, period. In my opinion, the state has sold its soul to the devil when it decided that some additional tax revenue is worth the risks of addicting people to things like recreational drugs and gambling. I can't imagine the revenue to the village would be significant. Marijuana can be a gateway drug, and that is documented. The state even acknowledged as much when they approved these vices. The Village of Webster shouldn't be an enabler. I hate it when people use the legal status of alcohol as a rational reason for legalizing recreational marijuana. My late grandmother, in her infinite wisdom, would have said, 2 wrongs don't make a right. I don't want to be part of the silly game called desperate pursuit of tax revenues. The answer is to instead look for ways to reduce expenses, fraud, misuse, and abuse of tax dollars. Turning to vices is the wrong answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Peter Elder, 59 Dunning Avenue. Good to see all of you. Same topic, but I want mostly a question, which of course is rhetorical, you don't have to answer it, but the town is considering the idea also in conjunction with this decision-making process about how their zoning regulations would be altered to accommodate these facilities. I do watch all the videos, so I do have some idea what you talked about in the past, but I'm not sure that this subject has been broached anywhere in depth, or at least that I've heard of. Have you considered the idea of crafting a local law that would actually kind of make it so that we have these facilities at specific parts of the village, sort of like we do with adult uses? Because that is something, an option the town is approaching as well, to try to address the proximity to things like churches, schools, and so all of which we have here in very much in the center of the village. So, okay, thank you.
Yeah, Jake. Jake put up the original.
Anyone else? If not, then I will close the public comment portion of the meeting. And at this time, we will move to a presentation by LMT regarding server updates. So,
So this is Jim Decker from LMT Technologies. We've had some issues over the past year with our Exchange server, which handles all of our email. So at this point, Jim's going to describe some options that we have. Our current system current server rather, for email is on its last legs, to be honest with you. We've already had several repairs that each time is taking 4 to 5 hours to patch and reconfigure the server. So it's becoming a large expense at this point. And Jim's going to present a couple different options that we have.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So we have a couple different options. We could rebuild the current Exchange server. The server that we could rebuild the Exchange server and then migrate all the data over to a new 2016 or 2019 server. But then that server is also sitting on old hardware that's going to need to be replaced in a couple of years. So what we have proposed is moving to Office 365. That would take the Exchange server out of house it'd be in Microsoft's cloud. And then you guys would, all your mail and everything like that would not be on site anymore. And you'd be able to access that and it'd be in a safe, in a safe environment. And it'd be redundant, so your stuff was backed up, it's in Microsoft's cloud. So. And then there's another option here is LMT Cloud with Microsoft Office 365, which that would remove all of the servers from on-site, and you would be in LMT's cloud, which is hosted over in our data center, and then your Office 365 would also be in the cloud, so then you would have no on-prem services. So in case there's any disaster or anything like that, or anything where people couldn't come to work, you could you'd have a VPN set up where you could access your data from home or remotely, or in case of another pandemic, you have access to your data remotely from wherever. And it's a nice disaster recovery plan because then nothing is here and it's in a secure data center.
What are the costs, roughly?
They're in the packet.
Yep, they're in the, so to do the migration for the Exchange server in-house it's about $11,000 yearly, is annual. That's a one-time fee. Then your monthly is $12,012.5 after the upgrade. But that is just a Band-Aid for now, because eventually the server, the physical server is going to need to be replaced because the hardware is just old, and to replace that, I think that was like around $15,000 to $20,000. And the servers with that, you can warranty those for about 5 years, and then you have to replace those every so often because you run out of warranty, and it gets more expensive to renew those warranties the older and older the servers get. So with moving to a cloud solution, you don't have those recurring fees, and all the hardware is taken care of by LMT, so you don't have the recurring costs of the huge capital expenditure of replacing the servers and doing the whole migration and all that stuff. So if you went to a full cloud solution, the LMT Cloud and Microsoft 365, you're looking at a monthly fee of about $2,200. But that, when you're in a cloud solution, you can always scale your infrastructure back. So if we get to a point where you don't need as much storage or resources on the server, those can be reduced also to bring the price down.
Typically, how long does a server last?
We like to replace them every 5 years, just because the hardware gets old and it's out of warranty, and replacing or upgrading or buying a new warranty gets more and more expensive because the HP or the vendors know it's going to be more expensive, and it's getting to the point where the hard drives and the hardware on the server could fail. So it's going to be more expensive for the warranties.
Well, the problem, and I alluded to this a couple meetings ago, but we weren't ready yet with the information that this would be coming. If we kind of fix the one we have now, but other servers that we have will need to be replaced as well. So it might seem like a lot initially, but going to the cloud, we would no longer have to do that.
Correct. And if we did, like Heather was saying, if we did do something now, it would kind of be a Band-Aid, which me and Heather and Joe talked about, is we don't want to Band-Aid it. We'd rather just, move you guys forward so you're not getting that recurring expense where we're just Band-Aiding it, and every couple months, you're either getting hit with upgrades for, or the exchange upgrades, which Joe said is about $600, you know, every time something happens. So after a while, I think the cloud solution would pay for itself, where you guys aren't recurring the extra costs.
In addition to manpower too, right?
Right, exactly, yep.
Every time it needs a repair.
Correct, yep. And we have a full team at LMT that supports our cloud, and that's their sole job, is to support that. Whenever there's an issue, they're right on it, so you would know what is happening and when it's happening and how long you'd be down if that were to happen. So, and we have SLAs we have to meet and all that stuff, so.
Is there backup?
Yes, sir. We have redundancy in our cloud. Our cloud backs up and then it replicates to another cloud. I'm not sure where that's located, but we do have redundancy for our cloud. I believe it's right now it's backing up to Amazon servers, but I'm not sure where those are located because Amazon servers are everywhere. So. And right now you don't really have backup, but your backup is local. So your backup is saved here, and if if something would happen to the building,
We
you
back
have
it up
backups,
into
but
a safety deposit.
right,
Put it into a safety
safety
deposit
deposit
box.
box.
And I do that weekly or bi-weekly, or not bi-weekly, but every 2 weeks or so.
That's process.
Right, so it would take a lot of the human, human process out of it, or it'll be just done for you guys.
So this was a comparison, this information sheet that we have, and the bottom line is versus what we have right now, I believe, replacing the Exchange servers for LMT cloud option, and that's what you're proposing, correct?
Yes, sir. That would be your best solution because everything else is a Band-Aid. And eventually you're going to need to replace the physical server, which is a $15,000 to $20,000 expenditure. Where doing this, you will hit your server in the first year. You're not coming close to the cost of a brand new server, and that's with you have the cost and the labor to move all that data too.
Oh, and the middle one there, you said there's a 3-year commitment?
That is, so that 3-year commitment is if we were to go to Azure, which that is a Microsoft Cloud solution, which that's another solution, but we don't have any control over that. So where LMT's local, you have local support. We run into something like if Microsoft was down, we'd be at the mercy of Microsoft. Just like the other day when Amazon went down, we're at the mercy of Amazon and don't know when that's going to come back up. So we wouldn't be able to, get you guys back up if that was an issue.
So, the third one there, LMT, is there any commitment, say, 2 years from now, like, you guys are, aren't doing the job?
No commitment. We could come in, do all this stuff for you. You guys be like, no, this isn't working out. You find another vendor, we'll work with another vendor to do what you need to do. So there's no commitment at all. We just want you to give us 30 days if you do. So
Sure.
And not to offend anything, but the good thing about it is that once we're on the cloud, it's a lot easier to go a different company if that was something you wanted to do down the road.
I don't have any other questions, really, at this point.
Okay.
Thank you for your information.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And your time, and also for what you guys are doing at the moment.
Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My main concern is that I don't know that much about the cloud, but there's redundancy in the cloud, so that we're not going to do something. Not having physical servers or anything like that.
Yeah, it's kind of how things are moving, and, that it's backed up in the cloud, and it's there, and just off the record. I mean, we did look at another, it's not really good.
You're on.
Your mic's not on, so you're on the record, but your microphone.
Listen at home, could you please plug your ear?
We wanted to go with the other company that was cloud, the cloud as well, but just Don wasn't happy with the agreement with that one. So we have looked at alternatives.
Right.
We are very happy with LMT. I know they are expensive, but with how things are today, I mean, scary. There is just fraud happening everywhere, and we are very happy with the service that they give us.
And the other company you said is coming at 7:45.
Then one at 8.
So I can leave.
Heather, what's our monthly fee right now?
I don't have, is that in here, Joe, the monthly fee?
That we're paying right now?
Yeah. What would it go to? It wasn't,
Is that $1202.50
yeah,
per month?
yeah.
On top of that, we have like annual warranties that we have to pay as well. So in the cloud-based scenario, all of those warranties and updates are taken care of.
Yeah, they go
We
away.
won't be paying extra for those when, if the entire thing is going to the cloud. It eliminates
Right.
other expenses that we're paying now.
Like, yeah, how much, approximately, how much?
Depending on, I don't know if you have it in one of those.
Because,
So this thing, 2 calls at $600 is, it already makes this one, what we have now.
I know.
Yeah.
the annual, the annual cost that, which I don't think I have in mind. For, this SPX backups, I believe is around $300 a year. But that goes away also. So there's the little recurring costs for the renewals for the backup software, that will go away as well. So,
What about the email fees that we get by having Exchange? That would reduce too, correct? If we went completely to the cloud, isn't there an email fee that we pay for Exchange?
you pay for your Exchange license. You would still pay for your Office 365 licensing.
Yeah.
And that would be, you still have, you still have to pay for that.
But not the server.
But not the server, and all of the updates and all that stuff are taken care of by Microsoft. So you don't have to pay that $600 every time there's an emergency Exchange patch or anything like that. Yep, that would be all taken care of for you guys. And moving to Office 365, it's more secure for your email because we can enable 2-factor authentication. You have Outlook Web Access, which we can disable that stuff, but there's, it's just, in the long run, it's a better solution where you're not paying, those $600 for those emergency patches that come out, whenever they find an exploit, because it's all taken care of by Microsoft on their server.
Jake, you're supposed to chew.
Well, I thank you very much for your time and explanation.
Sure.
consider that.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to our scheduled agenda, and our first item on there is resolution to approve the minutes from November 23rd. If you have looked them over. Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second it. Aye.
Aye. Trustee Lauer?
Aye.
Trustee Abolito?
Aye.
Trustee Belkane?
Aye.
Trustee Lancy? Mayor Byers?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Next, we have resolution to approve the claims and warrants. I believe there were 3 of us that looked these over this time. Sorry, I may not have been on the schedule, but I was bored this morning and
So you
came in and used the green pen and wrote on.
I don't have any questions.
Yeah, I only had one and that was a little, silly one. It was, what's it called, equinox?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the key fob was lost.
The
or
key fob got,
The key was lost.
Yeah.
And yeah, the new keys have a microchip in them. They can't start the vehicle without that. They had to have the vehicle there to program it, so we had to tow the vehicle over to get it.
Just check.
And my key was a little chip in it to get it. He was chipping brush, and brush must have grabbed it or something. It was, we looked up and down the street, but it was nowhere to be found.
Okay.
yeah,
How
dress.
much was it?
Oh, it was 160 or something like
As I say,
that.
120 for the key, I think, plus programming.
Yeah.
For the tow, right, those are the tow,
Yeah.
Wasn't in the cloud?
It was not in the cloud.
Jay, can I have an explanation on the town of Webster sewer charge for television and flush truck?
Yes.
We have one, and I wondered where the television scoping camera was used.
On our sewer line that goes down North Avenue, South Avenue, and continues on to the north, goes up to about 700 block of Webster Road and turns near the Parks and Rec and ties in another line that comes out Panama. There's some roots and issues in that line that we wanted to get addressed. When we had heavy rains, there were some issues in that line. So we had the camera. We don't have a camera. We have a small lateral camera, but certainly not one that'll work in a 12-inch line. And our sewer truck at that time was out. That's what we ordered one 13 months ago. And it's slated for production of the cabin chassis the first quarter of 2022. So that it's limping along now, unless you're an interested buyer for it. It's a really good truck. But we've been limping it along, and unfortunately it was not available then. So we had to have the guy, John came in at night, and Adam from the town came in, and they cambered that line at a lower flow, which is still quite a bit of flow in that line. But they tried to do it when it was, they came in at midnight, when the flow was presumably the lowest, and tried to camera that so you could see what was going on with it. They did find some issues. In fact, talked to Marcia, Kenyon Pipeline, who did our Phillips Road section, was scheduled. They were out this week. They were slated to come out this week, and they're actually going to try to make it out next week, because the ground was a little soft around it, and they're in areas over near the softball fields at Parks and Rec and over behind their barns. So they're going to come and do their prep work and do the measurements and reline that section of pipe because it goes through the woods and it's an old clay tile. So There's some issues on issues of deformation of them, so
Okay.
we're getting that squared away.
So that didn't have anything to do with the lines that are being considered on the Xerox?
No, not at all.
Just wanted for clarification. Thank you.
Yes.
And getting all set for Pleboa in March?
Yes, and it'll be very, very nice to have it done. As much as I complain about going there for 3 days in a row, it'll be very nice because we had to do it virtual this past year, and we have to have 24 hours of training, and I just finished I think my 24th hour. I might do one more hour on something just to have a buffer, but I just finished that the other day for this year, and then have to go do it again in March. But you have to have 24 hours a year. And that's the nice thing about that football conference, they just knock it all out at once.
Anybody else have any questions? If not, then entertain a motion to approve the claims and warrants.
Make the motion.
I'll second.
Trustee Belkane?
Aye.
Trustee Lancy?
Aye.
Trustee Alito?
Aye.
Trustee Lauer?
Aye.
Mayor Byers?
Aye.
Motion passes.
We had a public hearing at the last meeting on the adoption of the local law number 1, proposed adoption. And we've had, I believe, a comment or two this evening. But the next item is item number 3, resolution to adopt proposed local law number 1 of 2021, titled, quote, opting out of licensing and the establishment of retail cannabis dispensaries and/or on-site cannabis consumption establishments within the incorporated Village of Webster, unquote. All of you have and have had this now for actually a month, the proposed law in front of you. I will read this proposed law, and at that point, be open for discussion, if there is any. Resolution of the Village of Webster Board of Trustees to adopt the proposed local law number 1, 2021, of the Village of Webster titled Opting Out of Licensing and the Establishment of Retail Cannabis Dispensaries and/or On-Site Cannabis Consumption Establishments within the Village of Webster. Whereas pursuant to New York Cannabis Law 131, a village may adopt the local law on or before December 31st, 2021, subject to permissive referendum that requests the Cannabis Control Board of the State of New York to prohibit the establishment of retail cannabis dispensary licenses and/or on-site cannabis consumption licenses within the jurisdiction of the Village of Webster. And whereas by resolution, the Village Board, which is November 9th, 2021, the Village Board of the Village of Webster established a date, time, and place for a public hearing to consolidate enacting proposed local law number 1 of 2021 with respect to opting out of licensing and the establishment of retail cannabis dispensaries and/or on-site cannabis consumption establishments within the Village of Webster. And whereas a notice of this public hearing was published in the Webster Herald and was posted on the Village Bulletin Board at the Village Hall at 28 West Main Street, Webster, New York. And whereas a public hearing was held by the Village of Webster Board of Trustees on November 23rd, 2021. And whereas all interested persons were heard, and whereas the Village Board of the Village of Webster has determined that the adoption of proposed local law number 1 will not affect the environment and therefore is not an action within the meaning of the State Environmental Quality Review Law Whereas it is in the public interest to enact proposal local law number 1 of 2021. Therefore, be it enacted by the Board of Trustees of the Village of Webster as follows. Be it enacted by the Board of the Trustees of the Village of Webster, New York as follows. Number 1, legislative intent. It is the intent of this local law to opt the Village of Webster, New York out of hosting retail cannabis dispensaries and/or on-site cannabis consumption establishments within its boundaries. 2, authority. This local law is adopted pursuant to New York Cannabis Law 131, which expressly authorizes cities and villages to opt out of allowing retail cannabis dispensaries and/or on-site cannabis consumption establishments to locate and operate within their boundaries. 3, prohibition. Pursuant to Section 131 of the Cannabis Law, the Village of Webster hereby requests the Cannabis Control Board of the State of New York to prohibit the establishment of cannabis retail dispensary licenses and usages and the establishment of cannabis on-site consumption licenses and usages within the jurisdiction of the Village of Webster. Item 4, permissive referendum. Pursuant to Section 131 of the Cannabis Law, this local law is subject to a permissive referendum governed by Section 24 of the Municipal Home Rule Law. Section 5, item 5, severability. If the provisions of any article, section, subsection, paragraph, subdivision, or clause of this local law shall be judged invalid by a court of competent jurisdiction, such order or judgment shall not affect or invalidate the remainder of any article, section, subsection, paragraph, subdivision, or clause of this local law. Item 6, effective date. This local law shall be effective upon filing with the Office of the Secretary of State. That is the local law as read. Is there any last comments or opinions or commentary that anybody on the board would like to make?
You know, done, right?
Correct.
No, I don't believe it as well. I didn't speak. So if you opt in at a later date, you're gonna have to vote again?
We would rescind or revise local law number 1, and it would be, we would have to go through a permissive referendum, we'd have to go through the same
It's a reverse.
public hearing to reverse. But,
I guess I would opt in, but I don't want the dispensaries, I don't want all of them. Because I just don't, it's almost like when he was talking about changing, LMT, changing all of this stuff, this is what's going on right now. That doesn't mean that someone that uses cannabis is going to use anything else. I mean, we've got enough alcoholics and bars here that have caused us a lot of damage here in the village.
I agree.
And I just don't see where this is horrific. It isn't you use cannabis, so you're going to go right to heroin, and that isn't how it works.
I think that there's a lot of us might have an issue with the moral part of this. Whatever your own personal beliefs are, whether they be, your own usage maybe, or your religious belief, or
Right.
and things like we're not supposed to do that. Or to me, the bars have been around for a long time. The liquor and alcohol in the bars can cause people to abuse it. So alcohol is a gateway to using more alcohol or stronger alcohol. All right? And that's one one case in point. And the next one would be, I would rather see it sold at a regulated dispensary in our village, rather than seeing the sleazy people that come around selling black market items, narcotics, behind gas stations and all that stuff, and perhaps causing trouble that way. So, for me, I would say opt in and opt out of establishment that would let you use it in. So I got one in and one out.
Well, that's kind of,
That's what Judy said. I would, I can't see, I heard Bruce's comment, and I can't see where it's really, yes, any drug is a gateway to a stronger drug, no matter what it is. And it doesn't necessarily mean that people who try marijuana or use it on a regular basis, that doesn't mean that they're going to go on to using heroin or something else.
Right, even if they're using just marijuana, if it's not in the Village of Webster, they're not gonna stop using it.
That's right.
Our younger population, which now we had some people come to speak to us here, remember the moms that came here? Kids were getting in their cars after school and driving to the city, right after the bell rang.
That's the part I was trying
To go into the city and deal with people and all sorts of stuff.
I don't think that it's.
Correct, and now
It's
they
not,
can grow it at home.
Right. So that's, to Carl's point, they're grow it at home, but, you know, we
you
didn't
gotta
make it.
smoke it at home or smoke
We
it
didn't make it
outside.
legal. The people that are gonna smoke it, are gonna smoke it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How I feel, people who drink. You can hear me, I'm the loudest person here, I don't need the microphone.
I can hear you.
yeah.
So, kind of agree with you.
You know, it's going to be more expensive at these dispensaries.
There's so
And
much
that'll
black
create a
market stuff.
competition with the black market stuff.
Yeah.
But you still have,
Well, you have to,
you have
some laws.
regulations and all that stuff.
Around what, yeah.
With the stuff that you're buying on the street, you don't know what it's laced with, what it contains. And
I did talk to Don, yeah, about some of that too. And it was more
And
about
there's some-
what we talked about. I don't think we know enough of the rules and the regulations. I know they said there's 128 pages of information and another 58-page something or other. I just don't think we have enough information. I'd like to have more, but I would still, I'm not against it. I just don't want dispensaries and everything here right now.
Let's wait until we know.
Can we,
You cannot opt out after December 31st. There is no way to opt out.
but even if you opt in, but then say, no, we will not have, we can say, no, we're not gonna have any dispensaries, we're not going to do
no,
it.
you're opting in for dispensaries, but out for consumption, places where you consume.
Oh,
That's what you said.
You can have retail. You can have one or the other or both.
no, I don't want it everywhere.
You can have one or the other or both. But to me, I don't think that there is enough in terms of information yet, in terms of regulation of even the sale.
It's certainly not worth any revenue. I mean, we're not gonna.
Well,
see
no,
any
it's only
revenue
what,
with dispensary.
2.5, they're saying that revenue that you're gonna get in, so that's not even a good,
If,
no, that wasn't, I guess I wanted more information, I didn't feel like I had enough, and I don't have anything to read to explain it, so. I'm not against, one of these, I'm not against it, so. What you're gonna do, what they're gonna do.
Frankly, I'm more, I guess not more, but most concerned that New York State allows you to have 5 pounds at your house.
Yes,
5 pounds.
That's crazy.
I don't know how long you're planning on staying at home, but I guess if you're smoking 5 pounds of it,
You aren't going very
hopefully
far.
not. It's crazy.
Yeah. Have you read,
Yeah, you can look up laws of New York, there's a whole section in cannabis law. Somebody had a question earlier, I don't want to interject here, but somebody had a question earlier, it's, you cannot have a retail dispensary within 500 feet of a school, or school grounds, it's called, or 200 feet of a house of worship.
oh,
There's,
So it really limits where they can even go anyway.
well,
Here
there
in
is some
Village,
challenges to that too, though, about, definition, you would think that definition of a house of worship is pretty clear, except the Harmony House hosts services on Sunday. Does that make that now a house of worship? I would think for at least Sunday it does, and I can't imagine that they're gonna move the store every Sunday.
Exactly.
It's more than 200 feet away from it, so
yeah.
maybe that, but I do understand also, I remember reading, I don't see it in here, that there's certain, you can have zoning regulations, but you can't say, yeah, we're gonna opt in for retail dispensaries and then make it impossible for them to go anywhere.
Right.
So, but there are limits, with the schools around, and I think certain preschool programs, daycares, I don't think qualify, but preschool programs and things like that that meet the definition of educational off school grounds.
Oh,
It's talked
okay.
about on that. Is
I
where
mean,
it's
Village
limited.
just isn't that big. We've got all kinds of schools and churches and.
To me, right now, not knowing, because even the state and the group that they're putting together to oversee this is very, very young in terms of, they're getting together in terms of what they put out. It would seem to me that it's easier to opt back in once there's a clear understanding to what their rules and regulations might be, as opposed to right now opting in and never being able to opt out.
You know that Pittsford opted out.
You're right.
The village of Pittsford opted
There are
out.
a number that
That's all.
I guess I agree that there should be more information available.
So it seems like there's too
I understand that.
much of that people aren't 100% positive.
If we gotta wait a month until we get more information, we'll wait a
you
month.
can't wait a minute
Yeah.
because you will
We
be
can opt in
automatically.
anytime we want.
That's right. We can opt out right
Right.
now, but we can opt in at a later.
Right,
Yeah,
so
right.
he's
That's what I'm
saying, say no now, work on the zoning and what that would look like, and those type of things, and then we can opt back in.
Once we get more information, like you wanted more information, you wanted,
Well, the information's there, we keep
Yeah.
saying, well, you guys, you have to do the research, it's there.
Yeah.
But you have to do it, we can't sit up here and say, I want more information, because no one's gonna hand it to you. It's there, it's just, we gotta read it. So it is there, you just gotta do homework on it, but to your point, we can figure out the zoning pieces and what that would look like. And once we figure all that out, we may say, oh my God, the only place they can put it, is on our roof, and it doesn't make sense. If it can't be here, it can't be here, it can't be here, there's gonna be nothing left. So,
Well, that's kind of what I looked at with the village, and we just don't have too many places that I think.
and do we know when the town voted? Or going,
They're gonna-
this week, or next week, I think?
Next week.
The 16th, I believe.
Well, and we have,
Wait a minute,
Would be nice if we would,
you can wait until the next meeting to vote, because it just has to be decided by December 30th. So if you want to push it off till the next meeting, you can. And you don't need, I don't know if I heard you wrong, but if you decide to opt in, you don't have to have the new stuff. You just take the motion to, it
Right, you don't
fails,
have to do anything.
and then it's done.
yeah, Don, so you don't do it.
Yeah,
You're right. It's an automatic thing if you do not
correct.
decide to opt out.
Yep.
But to me, in terms of how I feel about it,
You know how you feel,
you know, I feel, even if you're looking for more information, in terms of what can you do, how can you regulate, can you expand some of those areas if you wanted to? I don't think you can contract them, you can expand them. Then you have then you can look at what would you like to do with it. You can't go to residential, so we have industrial area, and what would you do?
So, opinion is we should vote now, right now, work on the zone increase, and that would, revisit it.
Yeah.
Personally, that would be my recommendation, not to jump in without knowing what the options are. I mean, in terms of-
When I said what I said, I was just trying to imagine what everyone is thinking about that. You know, I mean, those are points that you have to think about before you vote for it. And I agree now that we should opt out now with the opportunity to opt in later. Once we get more information, once we read up a little more about it, come to a better decision maybe, but
Tuesday?
it's, I mean, we're not, yeah, Tuesday. We're not, it's, I'm gonna look at the,
Yeah.
no, you're not legalizing heroin.
No.
No, it's not, I mean,
Right, but do you think anybody that's overdosed on heroin lately didn't start with marijuana? You know, I'm not saying everybody that smokes marijuana goes to heroin, but I think that everybody that does heroin probably started with marijuana or something else. They didn't just jump into heroin.
it's contention.
Yeah, I'm just guessing, I don't know. I'm not-
Why don't you talk to a substance abuse professional and get yourselves educated on that aspect of marijuana? Speak to a professional and have them give you an education on it, so that you know.
Get my daughter right here, that's what she does.
Yeah, that's right.
The usage is going to happen whether or not
Exactly.
we pass it.
It just depends on
It's gonna happen.
your moral makeup.
Because right now it is legal to possess up to 5 pounds and
Yeah, I
et
know.
cetera. And so it's just what do you want your community, how do you want it to be? What do you want your community to look like?
Well, what do you think it's gonna look like if
You're
we
not
did
gonna,
it?
I don't know.
you're not gonna fix it one way or the other.
You know,
They're gonna do what they're gonna do.
it's the moral makeup of any certain person. I mean,
Absolutely.
No, I bet, hasn't turned over yet, but it's still.
I doubt it will.
Well,
Yes.
at any rate, this is the motion on the table, and it is to adopt this resolution.
Did anybody make the motion? Who made the motion?
He hasn't asked for it yet, sir.
Well, then there's no motion on the table.
Excuse me. I am going to, at this time, ask for a motion to adopt this resolution. To adopt proposed local law number 1 of 2021 titled Opting Out of Licensing and the Establishment of Retail Cannabis Dispensaries and/or on-site cannabis consumption establishments within the incorporated Village of Webster. Is there anyone who would
I'll make that
make
motion.
that motion?
Supposed to make it.
second it.
Okay, this is a motion to adopt. Okay, trustee Belkane?
Aye.
Trustee Alito? Oh, sorry, I messed that up. Sorry.
I'm sorry, Mayor, but to clarify, should you pick one and or for the,
Well, I doubt we were doing one, aren't we doing one right now?
I think the wording said and or, so I think we have to
Yeah.
select, say we're opting out of retail establishments and adult use locations, or
Well, yeah, that's why I was kind of sitting here waiting, but I think if you should, it's gotta be, he's right.
Yeah.
I think you just modify a motion and say that you're gonna do, opt out of retail dispensaries and adult use consumption locations, and it's clear. It's not just a and or, it's not
Yeah,
one or the other.
that makes,
Clear, if that's what your intent was.
That currently would be my intent.
Are you talking to him?
So, can we modify?
I'm asking.
You texted that.
I should be calling in because he was supposed to be watching the meeting tonight from Florida. Okay.
You have to go, he said you have to do the way it is written, you can't change it now. That's the way you wrote it, so you have to do it that way. Because then you have to do a new public hearing.
And or on-site cannabis consumption. Establishments.
Just type it in.
You're prohibiting and or.
Just refix this,
Yeah.
right?
yeah.
You cannot change the wording of the proposed local law, or you would have to do a new public hearing.
We would have to change these.
You can't.
You can't without a
He said
public
you
hearing.
can't. The way it's written. So, do it for the 20th.
Adopt it as it's written. If you're not changing it, you're taking some It's gotta change. We can't vote on that like that.
That's too vague, it's just.
You can't change it though, you don't have enough time.
We don't have,
It has to be posted, it has to go in the paper, you have to, you gotta do it.
what's the time
That's
frame?
what it is.
Yeah, you have to do it.
'Cause it
Well,
has
if
to
you
be-
vote-
It has to be adopted by the end of the summer, but there's not enough time to have a public hearing. You'd have to vote.
Oh,
Could have a set one for the next meeting, and then
for the
you could
20th.
vote the same night.
Yeah.
But we have to get it through the
I don't know, to
paper.
me, it says to prohibit the establishment or on-site cannabis consumption.
And/or means both are prohibited, according to Doc.
That's what it is, big bucks.
Well, if you,
So we're good.
That's why you get to pay the big bucks.
if you don't have a dispensary, you're not gonna,
Right, Carol.
how are you gonna have an adult use establishment if you don't have any dope to smell there?
If you want to, you get 5 pounds of
Why would I tell you?
Carl, tell us how you really feel.
Yeah,
Okay, so
you and I.
let's start that vote over, okay? Okay, so trustee Belkane,
Aye.
Mayor Byers.
Aye.
Okay, trustee Alito.
Did anyone ever second it?
Yes, Mayor Byers seconded.
Oh, you did?
I did. No one else seemed to speak up, I did.
Oh, I didn't hear you. You don't have to yell at me.
I rarely second anything.
That is true, that is what,
How'd you vote?
He's neutral.
I'm
Yeah.
I
gonna,
live in Switzerland right now.
no, no,
Wait.
Aye.
I need a Mayor Byers first.
sorry.
Aye.
Okay. Trustee Alito.
I said aye.
Okay. Trustee Lauer.
Aye.
Trustee Lancy?
Aye.
Motion passes.
For consideration of 2000.
All right.
Dan's not here. From the attorney, clerk, anything? DPW?
Just, we're doing our last run of leaf pickup right now. It's going well. I think we've got one more street, what we call New Chance, it's over out on Phillips Road, to complete, and then north up Jerry's house, and then we'll be wrapped up. So I can't thank the guys enough. They've gone through, I think this year, obviously they fell real late, but they continue to go through once a week. They went through every week, they completely run. Normally in the peak of leaf season, it's a week and a half, even up to 2 weeks. The weather cooperated somewhat, we just had a little bit of snow on them, but they've been certainly plugging along there and doing great. So thanks to all them. I'm sure they're all watching. And that's it. And I mentioned the sewer relining project that we're going to do. That was previously it was a county bid, it was a public bid already, that we're going on with that. I talked to Marcia about the funding of that, and she said, all good. And that's it. We did have a brief discussion today about the Xerox roads, and Matt was working to kind of revisit that, because I think there's a small window of opportunity to make some progress there, so I'm sure he'll have updates soon. And I didn't turn my mic on the whole time.
We need a motion on the budget modifications.
Yes, please.
Okay. Very quickly then. We do have budget mods that is in front of you. And the first one is, wow, it's kind of wiping out the contingency fund. From AA.1990.400 contingency, $11,990 to the following funds: the electrical maintenance and repair fund, planters, the tree removal and trimming, and the concrete block. This is adjustment for anticipated expenditures based on year-to-date activity. And also, we'll combine it with the sewer fund budget modification from GG 1990.400 contingency $8,500 to lines for auditor, operation maintenance and equipment or vehicles, and the instrumentation maintenance of $5,000 to adjust for anticipated expenditures based on year-to-date activity. I have a motion to approve these budget mods.
I don't like the little detail that just says to anticipated expenditures, to adjust for anticipated expenditures. Kind of odd.
I think that's what the auditors
Use?
say, like, hey, how can we do it? It's almost like a cookie cutter or a boilerplate. That's why you're doing it, because we expect to spend more than what was in that line.
Jake is
But
correct.
we can get more detail.
Usually, so why are we spending this much more in these areas?
The electrical maintenance and repair, is that for things in our buildings? What was that before?
That's street lights. Actually, we've had 2 street lights. That 5182 signifies that it's a street light line. We've had 2 street lights that were wiped out. Some of these were reimbursed by, I know, one of them was reimbursed by insurance. One of them was a hit and run. And we actually are getting a third because of lead time. I ordered these The one got ran over March 5th of last year, and I just got a call today, or yesterday rather, that they're expecting to ship the fixtures to us, but the poles aren't gonna be here yet.
Settlements around.
Yeah.
But that's what's going on.
But they're
Yeah,
so
it's
long, so that's why we decided to order a new one.
Delayed.
But the streetlights themselves are over $3,000 by the time you get the base, the pole, and the fixture for the
That's the one
top.
down by the expressway.
Yeah, the one near the expressway got wiped out in March, and then somebody, the one near the D, the North D.
Yeah, the
North D, that one got wiped out, so that's the
Yeah.
one that the truck just hit and ran. And then we were gonna have a third one, and we had an accident today down on North Avenue. I was anxious that we got another one, but it looks like it did not, so.
So what is that, what is it, benefit and contingency, do you have that information?
I didn't hear you, sorry, what?
A contingency line?
We put in, you mean like what, how much is in there?
Yeah, if you're taking.
It's around 10, but then we upped it to, I'm waiting for explanation from Marcia, I apologize, I just got this. But, what did we up it to? I can't remember.
No, that's what I'm just looking up. I'm trying to remember which.
You did about budget mileage, it's $10,000 they put in there originally in the budget.
We increased it though last year.
Yeah, we did that.
It does take a hit on it now.
We can, wait. This can wait until next time. It really can. You can do them at the end of the year.
Yeah, let's take a little more, understanding.
Budget today, for 2 seconds here.
They want to know what exactly it's for too.
Oh, okay, well, if it's just a matter of the contingency line, I think I can tell you. Maybe 400. There's $46,259 in it, and this was as of November 8th. And it looks like year-to-date was nothing, so the balance, I believe,
Yeah, we haven't touched
if
it.
I'm looking at it right, unencumbered expense balance percent used, 0, outstanding encumbered year-to-date actual was nothing, so looks like that line is still, it's been untouched up till the end of November at least.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was for the general, and I don't know how to switch tabs on my phone. Is it up here?
All right, well, that makes me feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
We can,
Did you want Mark's permission?
I can also have her email something out too. Tomorrow.
Let's do it.
Okay. If I don't get it in the next 2 minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve these budget transfers.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I just got it, if you want me to read it.
Yeah, please, that's what we were waiting on, so I'm not sure why we voted.
Okay, the mod is just to adjust for expenses to date. The electrical was for the light poles that got hit. Tree removal went way up because of ash borers killing trees. And she's not sure what the instrumental maintenance cost was, instrumentation maintenance cost. Do you know what that is, Jake?
It is escaping me at this point, but
Nothing
something.
escapes.
I'm trying to recall.
All right,
Yeah.
I feel better.
I feel, yeah.
Knowing Jake
it's-
did, and we haven't been touched yet. And all this, you should still be sitting pretty good.
Yeah. Sitting pretty.
Yep.
Okay, so was that trustee Lauer that made the second? I apologize.
It was.
Thank you. Okay, trustee Lancy,
Aye.
trustee Lauer,
Aye.
trustee Belkane, trustee Abolito,
Aye.
Mayor Byers.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right, I'd like to say thank you to everybody in the village and in Webster in general, and even those from outside of Webster who attended our Christmas in the Park. I think it was a success. It was a great opportunity to, again, get together as a community and I'll just enjoy the day and the season. Also, the parade at night was well done, and even though it was short, it still was well attended, so very good.
I want to say thanks to the bid for all that they did to pull us all together. Good job. Good job for the bid.
If there's nothing else, I would tell you that our next meeting is going to be Tuesday. Please note that, not Thursday, but Tuesday, December 21st at 7 o'clock. All right? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Thank you very much, and good evening.
I just emailed all of you the link